A few years ago, Myanmar's largest city, Yangon, was a vibrant metropolis. It was a thriving center where ambitious young people from across the country flocked to chase their dreams. Take one young man, for example. He moved from a small rural village to the city and spent his evenings bent over textbooks, studying relentlessly to become a certified accountant. That hard work paid off. He landed a job at a prestigious firm, earned a string of rapid promotions, and eventually secured a mortgage to buy his very own condo. He had his life mapped out. He didn't want to migrate overseas for work. He planned to stay in Yangon, get married, and build a stable life at home. His trajectory represented the rainbow future, a brief window of optimism as Myanmar took steps toward democratization. For an entire generation, the goals were clear. Achieving self-actualization and building economic independence were the definitive markers of success. Then, the military staged a sudden coup. The democratic progress was shattered, and the country's economic engine stalled. Companies across the city froze their operations. What followed was a wave of mass layoffs that swept through the professional white-collar class. Suddenly, the young accountant's peers were pivoting to drive trishaw taxis just to feed their families. He managed to keep his accounting job, but spent every day watching the door, waiting to be fired. This initial economic collapse taught the youth that geopolitical instability could instantly dismantle their personal plans, leaving them trapped inside closed borders. By 2026, a second threat emerged. The ruling junta implemented a policy of forced conscription. This diagram illustrates the draft's profit-driven economy. Administrators and military personnel secure payouts by meeting recruitment quotas or extorting families for ransom. Extraction happens through two methods: plainclothes men grabbing targets off the street, and officials coordinating night raids. Authorities have recently escalated these tactics. Instead of waiting in public, they use conscription lists to go door to door, taking individuals by force. Citizens find no help within the legal system. In one viral testimony, a woman explained how her husband was kidnapped while resting outside a warehouse. When she went to the local police, they refused to even open an investigation. The conscription crisis has become a decentralized mercenary game, where the lives of the youth are traded for financial gain. Because the system is incentivized by money, the target demographic has expanded. Recruitment is no longer limited to men in their 20s. In March, a 47-year-old trishaw driver disappeared. 2 months later, he was finally able to call his family and tell them he had been sold to the army. The fear has altered daily behavior across the city. Men in their 50s are refusing to dye their gray hair, hoping that looking older will prevent them from being snatched off the street. This creates a constant weight on the family. One 80-year-old grandmother spoke about weeping every time her 18-year-old grandson leaves the house, waiting in agony until he returns. By removing clear age limits and legal protections, the military has ensured that the threat is felt equally by grandparents, parents, and children, keeping the entire population in a state of high alert. Which brings us back to the young accountant. He eventually abandoned his condo. He now lies awake every night, convinced that dogs barking in the street are a signal that a night raid is beginning. He reached a breaking point and made a final pivot. He begged his company's director to let him live inside an equipment warehouse. His nightly routine is designed for concealment. He has the main door padlocked from the outside and turns off every light, sitting in total darkness to make the building look abandoned. The goals that used to define his life, building a career and a future, have been replaced by a much simpler objective. For many young people in Yangon, being drafted is seen as an end to life itself. Their ambitions have been stripped away, leaving behind only one goal: surviving the night.